So far I'm pretty satisfied with my project. I did have a few things this week that didn't turn out the way I intended them to. It was a problem I didn't even anticipate. So I will have to actually push that to the next week so that I can finish it up correctly. But other than that, so far so good. Well, what went well this week was I kind of had a leg up on getting this particular part of the project done. I'd been already working on another network and getting hardware sheets together so that I could keep track of the hardware that was in the network. Because of issues with how the technology works and certain things that you can't do on a network device that you can do on a PC, generally speaking, you have to manually record what hardware is where and design it that way, mostly because network devices are designed not to give out that kind of information automatically through the network. So that went really well. Since I had a leg up on that, I did a little bit of research and found some other devices that will probably be common on networks. I added a few pages to that. I was able to weed out some of the information that really didn't have to be there, and then add information that would be helpful to a network admin or just well, anybody that needed that information, needed access to that. So that part worked really well this week. Well, I had a couple of things go wrong on me this week. The first being that I underestimated the amount of time that I was going to be spending with some family that was in town. They're here for the week. It's my folks. It has been great to see them, but it kind of took a little more time away from schoolwork than I kind of planned for. But the second and more important one was I got the cart before the horse with my save to, my conditional save to, which was part of my sprint this week. The idea is that there is a naming convention for each computer, so each computer has a name that includes information about what floor it's on, what building it's in, what it's used for, etc., etc. And the conditional save to uses that information to then save it to a specific folder. Will create a hierarchy of sorts so that you can kind of see how the network maps out by where the computers are and that sort of thing. The problem is that I'm not going to be defining my naming conventions until next week, and I just didn't kind of see this one coming. I do have a custom naming convention that I use for another organization that I do some work for, but I didn't want to use that exactly as a template right here because I don't know that I haven't worked out if that's going to work with other companies or other organizations or not. So I'm going to have to push my save to script to next week after I do my naming conventions. So I kind of got things backwards and it threw me off this week, and I had to kind of decide, do I want to try and finish up the naming conventions this week, or do I want to push this on to next week? So I'm going to push it on to next week, and I should be able to make that work without any problems, but it definitely caused me an issue this week. One of the things that I would like to do with this project is make the final product an interactive network map of sorts. It might look a little bit like a Visio map, but when you clicked on individual pieces of that map, it would then bring up that item's information. Doing it this way would allow it to be pretty much whatever size you needed to accommodate large numbers of items, and it would also accommodate an expanding tree of devices. If you started out with one at the top and you could have hundreds at the bottom, but each could be nested inside each other. I think visually this would make it a lot easier to grasp how the network is set up. It would also make it easier to plan and add devices to it in a way that someone like a network admin could use. Also, it would be a good way to show it to people who aren't in the technical side of things, executives or other planners. It would help them kind of grasp how it works. Ways to improve time management. Well, much the same as last week. This week, this has been the big issue for me. I actually need to spend some time tomorrow just planning out what I'm going to do each day of the week next week, and put those things on a to-do list, and put that to-do list, make sure that's on my phone so that I can get each thing done at the right time and in the right order, and make sure I don't miss any assignments and that kind of thing. I think that will really help me get all this stuff focused and done correctly.